My name is Lily Jefferson, and I am 61 years old. I spent $18,000 on a Caribbean Christmas vacation for my daughter, her husband, and his parents. It was supposed to be a perfect family holiday. Then I discovered their group chat planning to exclude me from activities. I never imagined my Christmas gift would reveal who really valued me. Before I tell you what happened at 7 in the morning when I took action, let me know where you're watching from and subscribe to hear the shocking conclusion. I've always believed family comes first. That's how I raised my daughter Ashley after my husband Robert died when she was only 7 years old. As a single mother working as a financial advisor, I made countless sacrifices to ensure Ashley never felt the absence of her father too deeply. We developed a special bond through those challenging years, sharing weekly dinner dates and daily phone calls, even as she grew into adulthood. Everything changed when Ashley met Jake Hamilton 3 years ago. Jake came from a wealthy family with his father Theodore running a successful real estate development company, and his mother Marianne being a prominent socialite in our community. They lived in a mansion across town and were accustomed to a lifestyle far more luxurious than what Ashley had grown up with. I noticed the shift in our relationship almost immediately after the wedding. Our weekly dinners dwindled to monthly obligations. Phone calls became shorter, with Ashley often sounding distracted or rushing to end our conversations. Meanwhile, Theodore and Marianne began inserting themselves into every aspect of the young couple's lives. "We're having Sunday brunch at the country club with Jake's parents," Ashley would say, canceling our long-standing Sunday coffee tradition. "The Hamiltons have invited us to their lake house for the weekend," became another common excuse. Theodore and Marianne had a pattern of planning elaborate family events that conveniently excluded me. There was the Hamilton family reunion at their Aspen vacation home, the surprise anniversary party they threw for Jake's aunt and uncle, and the 4th of July weekend at their boat club. Each time, Ashley would inform me after plans were already finalized. "It was Jake's parents who organized it, Mom. I'm sure they would have included you if there was more space." She'd explain, though the explanations grew less convincing each time. I tried everything to maintain my relationship with my daughter. I hosted dinner parties and invited Jake's parents, hoping to build bridges. I sent thoughtful gifts to their home. I rearranged my schedule to accommodate the increasingly rare moments when Ashley could fit me into her calendar. Theodore and Marianne just have a different way of doing things. Ashley once told me when I gently brought up feeling left out. "They're really traditional about family, and Jake is their only child." What hurt most was watching Ashley gradually adopt her in-laws' lifestyle and expectations. My practical, down-to-earth daughter, who once rolled her eyes at designer labels, now talked about the right brands to wear and the right people to know. She began referring to Marianne as her second mom and seeking her advice on matters she used to discuss with me. "Marianne thinks we should redecorate the guest room in a coastal theme," or "Theodore says this investment opportunity is perfect for us," became common phrases from Ashley. Despite feeling increasingly replaced, I remained determined to stay connected to my only child. That's why when I received my annual bonus last year, I decided to plan something special that would bring us all together. A Christmas vacation where I could reestablish my place in Ashley's life and perhaps find common ground with the Hamiltons. I never imagined this gesture would ultimately reveal just how far outside the family circle I had been pushed. I spent 2 years saving for this special Christmas gift, working extra clients, cutting back on personal expenses, even delaying repairs on my aging car. The Caribbean resort I selected wasn't just expensive, it was exclusive, the kind of place the Hamiltons would approve of. I wanted to create an experience where we could all build lasting family memories together. The resort featured private beach access, world-class dining, and activities for everyone to enjoy. I researched extensively, reading hundreds of reviews and speaking with travel agents to ensure everything would be perfect. I booked 3 connecting suites in the premium oceanfront category, first-class flights for everyone, and arranged exclusive excursions, including a private catamaran sunset cruise, scuba diving lessons, and a guided tour of local historical sites. When I first announced the trip 6 months earlier during a dinner at my home, Ashley's eyes had widened in disbelief. "Mom, are you serious? This is incredible!" she had exclaimed, hugging me tightly. Even Jake seemed genuinely touched, raising his glass in a toast. "To Lily, for giving us the gift of family time," he had said. And in that moment, I felt hopeful about our future as an extended family. Planning the perfect trip became my passion project. I created detailed spreadsheets, tracking everyone's preferences. Ashley loved swimming, so I booked a suite closest to the infinity pool. Jake enjoyed golfing, so I arranged tea times at the championship course. I even remembered that Theodore had mentioned an interest in local rum distilleries, so I scheduled a private tasting tour. When I shared the news with Jake's parents, their initial response was notably cold. Theodore had raised an eyebrow and asked, "You're paying for all of this yourself, Lily?" Marianne had added, "How generous, though we typically spend Christmas at the ski lodge in Vail." Yet over the following weeks their attitude shifted. They began asking detailed questions about the accommodations and itinerary. Theodore wanted to know about the resort's business center facilities. Marianne inquired about spa treatments and nearby shopping opportunities. Soon they were requesting my travel agent's contact information, just in case we need to clarify anything. I shared all the reservation details, confirmation numbers, and itinerary information with the family via email. I wanted everyone to feel included in the planning process and to build anticipation for our time together. "I've set up a dinner reservation at the beachfront restaurant for Christmas Eve," I told them during a family dinner 2 months before the trip. "They do a traditional feast, but with a Caribbean twist. I thought it would be special." Ashley had exchanged glances with Jake before responding, "That sounds nice, Mom, but maybe we should keep our options open. We might want to explore the island a bit." Still, as Christmas approached, I remained hopeful. I purchased new luggage as a pre-trip gift for Ashley and Jake. I bought tropical weight clothing appropriate for the resort's upscale atmosphere. I even learned a few basic Spanish phrases, wanting to fully embrace the experience. This vacation represented more than just a luxury getaway. It was my attempt to reclaim my position in my daughter's life, to demonstrate that I could provide the same level of experience as the Hamiltons, and to create a neutral space where perhaps we could begin to feel like a true, blended family. The $18,000 was more than money. It was an investment in my relationship with my daughter. The first sign that something was amiss came about 2 weeks before our departure date. Ashley canceled our usual monthly dinner with a text message just 3 hours before we were supposed to meet. "Sorry, Mom, not feeling great. Rain check," was all it said. When I called to check on her, Jake answered. "She's lying down," he said, and I could hear voices and laughter in the background. "Probably just a migraine. She'll call you tomorrow." But she didn't call the next day or the day after that. When I finally reached her 3 days later, she sounded distracted and ended the call after barely 5 minutes, claiming she needed to finish some work before the holidays. I tried not to read too much into it. The holidays were a busy time and everyone was probably trying to wrap up work before our trip. But other troubling incidents began to accumulate. Once, when I called to discuss what type of adapters we might need for our electronics, I overheard Ashley saying to someone in the background, "No, don't worry about that, it's all being taken care of." When she returned to our conversation, she sounded flustered and quickly changed the subject. Whenever I brought up specific activities I had planned, Ashley became dismissive. "Let's just play it by ear when we get there, Mom," she said, when I mentioned the Christmas Day brunch I had reserved months in advance. Then Theodore called me directly, something he had never done before, asking detailed questions about the resort's Wi-Fi capabilities and whether the suites had private balconies. "Just want to make sure we have some private space," he said in a way that made me feel uneasy. You know how family vacations can get a bit overwhelming. Most concerning was discovering that Ashley had contacted the resort directly. I only found out because the concierge mentioned it when I called to confirm our airport transfers. "Yes, Mrs. Jefferson, we have noted the changes requested by your daughter. The private dining arrangements have been updated accordingly." Private dining arrangements? I hadn't planned any private dining. When I asked for clarification, the concierge seemed confused. "The reservation for 4 at the executive chef's table on Christmas Day for the Hamilton party, 4 not 5. The Hamilton party, not the Jefferson Hamilton family." I mumbled something about checking with my daughter and ended the call with my hands shaking. The final red flag came during a family dinner 1 week before the trip. Throughout the evening, Jake Ashley and his parents kept exchanging knowing glances and referencing conversations I hadn't been part of. "Just like we talked about," Theodore said at one point, winking at Ashley when the topic of beachfront activities came up. "The special arrangement," Marianne whispered to Jake when I mentioned the Christmas Eve dinner reservation. When I asked Ashley about our traditional Christmas morning gift exchange, something we had done every year of her life, even during college when she had to open presents over video chat, she hesitated. "About that, Mom, maybe we should be flexible with the timing. We are on vacation after all." I drove home that night with a knot in my stomach. Something wasn't right, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what was happening. I told myself I was being paranoid, that my anxiety about fitting in with the Hamiltons was making me see problems that weren't really there. After all, who would accept such an expensive gift, only to exclude the person giving it? I was about to find out exactly who would do such a thing, and the answer would break my heart. 2 days before our departure, I decided to surprise Ashley and Jake with some pre-trip gifts. I had bought them tropical weight robes with their initials embroidered special reef-safe sunscreen from an exclusive boutique and waterproof cases for their phones. I thought these thoughtful presents might help rebuild some of the connection I felt we were losing. I drove to their suburban home, expecting to find them packing and preparing for our early morning flight. Ashley had mentioned they would be home all evening when we spoke briefly the day before, but when I arrived around 6:30, the house was dark and both their cars were gone. I called Ashley's cell phone. No answer. I texted both her and Jake. No response. After waiting in my car for 20 minutes, I decided to use the emergency key they had given me to leave the gifts inside. I figured they must have made a last-minute shopping trip for the vacation. I let myself in, carefully placing the gift bags on their kitchen island. That's when I noticed Jake's tablet sitting on the counter screen lit up with incoming notifications. I had no intention of snooping, but the name of the group chat caught my eye immediately: Christmas Paradise Planning. A new message appeared from Theodore. "Confirm the private cabana for the 4 of us on the 26th. Lily will never know we're even at the same beach." My hand trembled as I picked up the tablet. I know it was wrong to look at someone else's private messages, but something inside me needed to know the truth. I scrolled up, and what I saw shattered my heart into 1,000 pieces. The group chat included Ashley, Jake, Theodore, and Marianne. Scrolling back through weeks of messages, I saw they had been meticulously planning how to enjoy the vacation I was paying for, while excluding me at every opportunity. "Mom booked connecting suites, but I spoke with the resort," Ashley had written. "They can give us a door key that works for both our room and Jake's parents' suite, but not for Mom's. That way we can move freely between our rooms without her knowing when we slip away." Theodore had responded, "Perfect. I've arranged for a separate dinner reservation at 7:30 on Christmas Eve. We'll tell Lily we're too tired from the flight and want to eat in our rooms, then meet at the French restaurant on the north side of the resort." Marianne had added, "I've booked us a private car for the 27th to explore the island. We can tell Lily we're just going for a quick shopping trip and be gone all day." The messages continued detailing their plans to systematically exclude me from nearly every aspect of the vacation. They had arranged private beach cabanas, exclusive dinners, and separate excursions. They had even created a secret code to alert each other when they wanted to escape from spending time with me. But the message that truly broke me was from my own daughter. "Mom will probably just stay in her room anyway. She won't notice if we do our own thing. She's always been content to give me space on vacations. Besides, she'll be happy just knowing she got to bring us all together, even if we're not actually with her most of the time." Jake had replied, "Your mom means well, but she doesn't really fit with our vacation vibe. No offense, but she's just not the resort type." And then Theodore's message, the final blow. "We can pretty much ditch her after the second day once we're settled at the resort. She'll probably appreciate the alone time anyway. She can sit by the pool with her financial magazines while we enjoy the real amenities." They had even shared screenshots of their private reservations and separate itineraries, all carefully planned around my original schedule, but excluding me entirely. The level of coordination and deception was stunning. They weren't just making alternative plans, they were actively conspiring to use my gift while shutting me out. I stood frozen in their kitchen tablet in hand, tears streaming down my face. $18,000. Years of saving. Countless hours of planning. All for a family that intended to abandon me the moment we arrived at our destination. I set the tablet down exactly as I had found it, collected my gifts, and walked out, locking the door behind me. I was not going to let them see me cry. I was not going to confront them in anger. No, this betrayal called for something much more deliberate and powerful than an emotional outburst. It called for action. I barely remember the drive home. My vision was blurred with tears, and my hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. By some miracle I made it home safely, though I couldn't recall a single intersection or traffic light along the way. Inside my house, I collapsed onto the sofa, still wearing my coat, and let the full weight of the betrayal crash over me. The sobs came in waves, deep and guttural, the kind that leave you gasping for air. My own daughter. My only child. The person I had centered my entire life around since the day she was born. How could she do this to me? I must have cried for hours replaying the messages in my mind. Each remembered word was a fresh cut to my already bleeding heart. Around midnight, I called my sister Janet in Arizona, not caring about the time difference. "They were going to abandon me," I choked out between sobs after explaining what I'd discovered. "They were going to take my gift and leave me alone at the resort." "Those ungrateful, entitled brats," Janet fumed. "Especially Ashley, after everything you've done for her." As Janet's righteous anger burned through the phone line, my mind drifted back through the years of sacrifice. I remembered sitting alone at school events while other children had both parents cheering them on. I recalled the birthdays when I'd worked double shifts the day before so I could afford to give Ashley the same gifts her friends received from their dual-income families. I thought about the college tuition I'd paid by taking on extra clients and skipping vacations for myself. "Remember when Ashley had that dance recital in 8th grade?" I said to Janet, the memory suddenly vivid. "I had that important client meeting the same day. I rescheduled the client even though it meant risking the account, because I promised Ashley I'd never miss an important event." "You've always put her first," Janet agreed. "And this is how she repays you." The conversation with my sister continued past 2 in the morning, cycling through shock, grief, and anger. Janet suggested confronting them all, laying bare their deception, and demanding an explanation. "You should march right into their house tomorrow and throw those messages in their faces," she insisted. But as the night wore on, and exhaustion began to replace the sharp edge of pain with a dull, throbbing ache, clarity slowly emerged. This wasn't just about a vacation. This was about respect, about being valued, about refusing to be an afterthought, in my own daughter's life. "I'm not going to confront them," I finally said around 3 in the morning. "I'm going to do something better." "What do you mean?" Janet asked. "I mean I'm going to stand up for myself in a way they'll never forget." After ending the call with Janet, I sat at my kitchen table with a notepad, meticulously listing every reservation confirmation number and payment detail related to the trip. I wasn't going to act rashly. I wasn't going to make emotional decisions. I was going to be as calculated and deliberate as they had been in their plot to exclude me. For the first time in decades, possibly since Ashley was born, I put myself first. And in that moment of clarity, though my heart was broken, I felt the stirrings of something unexpected liberation. By 6 in the morning, I was showered, dressed, and seated at my desk with a cup of strong coffee and my cell phone. I had not slept at all, but adrenaline and resolve kept me focused. I started with a call to the resort's concierge desk, thankful for the time difference that meant they were already staffed. "Good morning, this is Lily Jefferson. I need to make some significant changes to my family's reservation, arriving tomorrow." I began, my voice steady and professional. The concierge was initially confused by my request to cancel everything, but when I explained that I was the one who had paid for the entire package, they transferred me to the manager. "Mrs. Jefferson, I understand you wish to cancel your family's holiday stay with us," the manager said. "May I ask if there's a problem with the accommodations we've prepared?" "The accommodations are not the problem," I replied. "My family is the problem. I've discovered they were planning to exclude me from activities during our stay, despite the fact that I paid $18,000 for this vacation as a gift to them." There was a pause on the line. "I see. That's unfortunate." We did notice there were several private reservations made under the Hamilton name that didn't include all 5 guests. "Exactly," I said, feeling validated. "I'm canceling everything. The suites, the airport transfers, the Christmas Eve dinner, the New Year's celebration, all of it." We spent the next 20 minutes going through each reservation. I was clear and specific, making sure every single aspect of the trip I had planned was dismantled. Most importantly, I requested that all refunds be processed back to my credit card only, not to any cards that might have been added to the reservations by the Hamiltons. "I understand completely, Mrs. Jefferson," the manager assured me. "We can process the refunds to your original form of payment. There will be a cancellation fee as per our policy, but given the circumstances and the fact that it's the holiday season, I'll reduce it significantly." Next, I called the airline to change just my ticket to a different destination, a peaceful mountain lodge in Colorado I had visited years ago. The airline representative was less sympathetic than the resort manager, but after paying a change fee, I secured a seat on a flight leaving that afternoon. "I'd also like to make sure that the other 4 travelers in my party cannot make changes to their tickets," I told the representative. "Those tickets were purchased by me as gifts, but I do not authorize any changes or refunds to those individuals." Back on my computer, I methodically canceled every excursion spa treatment and special event I had arranged. With each cancellation, I felt a curious mix of pain and power. Yes, I was dismantling the dream vacation I had so carefully crafted, but I was also refusing to be used by people who didn't value my presence. As 7 o'clock approached, I drafted a message to send to all 4 of them. I rewrote it several times, removing any trace of emotion or accusation. The final version was calm, direct, and unapologetic. "I've discovered your group chat and am aware of your plans to exclude me from the vacation I paid for. I've canceled all reservations and received a refund. You'll need to make your own holiday plans. Your airline tickets to the Caribbean remain valid should you choose to use them, but you will need to arrange and pay for your own accommodations and activities. I will be spending Christmas elsewhere. Lily." I set a timer on my phone, and at precisely 7 in the morning, I pressed send. The message went to all 4 of them simultaneously, and then I turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I was putting myself first, and it felt both terrifying and right. By the time I turned my phone back on 3 hours later, I had already packed a suitcase for my solo mountain retreat and arranged for my neighbor to collect my mail while I was away. I had 43 missed calls, 27 voicemails, and 68 text messages. They had been trying to reach me frantically since receiving my 7 a.m. message. The voicemails started with confusion, quickly escalated to panic, and eventually turned to anger. Ashley's first message was tearful. "Mom, what are you talking about? What group chat? Call me back right away." Her second message dropped the pretense. "Mom, I saw you read the messages. I can see you found our chat, but you're completely overreacting. We were just trying to make sure everyone enjoyed the vacation. Call me back now." By her fifth message, she was furious. "I cannot believe you canceled everything. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? Jake's parents are furious. This is so selfish of you, Mom. So selfish." Jake's messages were cold and threatening. "Lily, you need to uncancel these reservations immediately. My parents are considering legal action. That trip was a gift, and you can't just take it back." Theodore's voicemail was the most aggressive. "This is absolutely unacceptable behavior, Lily. That money was spent as a gift, which makes it legally ours at this point. We will be contacting our attorney if you don't fix this situation immediately." Marianne didn't leave voicemails, but her texts were passive-aggressive masterpieces. "We were only trying to plan some special family time with our son. I'm sure you can understand that, Lily. After all, you had Ashley to yourself for so many years." I listened to each message and read every text, but I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I sent one final message to Ashley alone. "The resort has your confirmation of cancellation. The money has been refunded to my account. This is not negotiable. I will be away for the holidays and unreachable. We can discuss this in the new year if you wish." Then I drove to the airport for my flight to Colorado, feeling lighter with each mile that separated me from the family that had planned to abandon me. Christmas Day was difficult. I woke up alone in a rustic cabin surrounded by snow-covered pines. The lodge had decorated a large tree in the main building, and the staff had organized a holiday buffet for guests. I joined the gathering, making polite conversation with other travelers, many of whom were also seeking solitude during the holidays. An older gentleman named Frank, spending Christmas away from his children due to a recent divorce, raised a glass with me during dinner. "To new traditions, Abem," he said, and I felt tears spring to my eyes as I clinked my glass against his. I cried that night in the privacy of my cabin, mourning the relationship I thought I had with my daughter. But the tears felt cleansing rather than devastating. I was grieving, but I was also healing. In the days that followed, I received unexpected support from people who learned what had happened. Janet had apparently told our cousins, who reached out with messages of encouragement. Several of my longtime clients who had become friends over the years sent thoughtful texts when they realized I was spending the holidays alone. Even my neighbor Barbara, who collected my mail, invited me for dinner when I returned. "What you did took courage," Barbara told me over coffee in January. "Most people would have gone on that trip and suffered in silence just to keep the peace." Ashley didn't attempt to contact me again until February. She showed up at my house on a Sunday afternoon without Jake. She looked smaller, somehow, more like the daughter I remembered from before her marriage. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice subdued. I invited her in, and we sat at the kitchen table where we'd shared thousands of meals over the years. The conversation was painful but necessary. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away," Ashley said, staring at her hands. "What we did was wrong. I got caught up in trying to please Jake's parents. They can be overwhelming." "That's not an excuse for planning to abandon the person who raised you, who saved for years to give you a special experience." I replied, my voice calm but firm. I know, she whispered. I don't even recognize myself anymore, Mom. The things I said in that group chat, the person who wrote those messages, that's not who I want to be. We talked for hours that day, setting the foundation for a new, more honest relationship. I established clear boundaries, making it plain that I would no longer accept being treated as an afterthought in her life. Ashley admitted that Jake's parents had been gradually isolating them from other family connections, not just me. Theodore and Marianne have a way of making everything seem reasonable in the moment, she explained. They'll say things like, family should stick together, but what they really mean is their version of family on their terms. Jake's parents continued their hostility toward me. They sent a formal letter demanding repayment for expenses incurred in anticipation of the trip, which I ignored on the advice of my attorney friend. They told mutual acquaintances that I had ruined Christmas out of spite, attempting to turn others against me. Their efforts largely failed, as most people could understand why I had reacted as I did. The most surprising development came in late spring, when Ashley called to tell me she had started seeing a therapist. The vacation incident made me realize how much I've changed since marrying Jake, she said. I've been letting his parents dictate our lives. The therapist is helping me recognize their manipulative behavior. I had begun therapy as well, working through my feelings of betrayal and learning to value myself beyond my role as Ashley's mother. My therapist helped me see that my self-worth shouldn't depend on being included in every aspect of my adult daughter's life, but that I also deserved basic respect and consideration. When the next Christmas season approached, Ashley asked if we could have a small celebration, just the two of us. Jake would spend part of the day with us and part with his parents. I think we need to rebuild our tradition, she said. Something that's just ours. We had a simple dinner at my home on Christmas Eve. No expensive gifts, no elaborate plans, just honest conversation, and the beginning of a more authentic relationship. Jake joined us briefly, still somewhat distant, but making an effort that seemed genuine. The painful experience of the canceled vacation had ultimately led to something valuable, though the journey was harder than I ever could have imagined. I learned that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. I discovered that true family respects your presence and values your companionship. Most importantly, I realized that it's never too late to establish boundaries and require the dignity you deserve. The following year, when a colleague asked if I regretted canceling that expensive trip, I smiled and shook my head. That $18,000 bought me something far more valuable than a Caribbean vacation, I told her. It bought me self-respect. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to stand up for yourself with family members? How did it change your relationship? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need encouragement to value themselves. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do for both yourself and others is to refuse to accept disrespect even from family.